Today we're taking a look at my top 5 favorite creatures in the new Monster Vault for the Tales of the Valiant RPG from Kobold Press. These are 100% compatible with D&D, and a lot of these are upgraded versions of monsters from the Monster Manual. You can just swap these in for the traditional 5e monster with the same name, and you'll have much more fun and interesting battles. But without further ado, let's jump into the top 5. We're going to start with one example of an upgraded monster, and then all the rest of these will be monsters that are unique to this book. Coming in at number 5 is an upgraded critter that is the classic example of the "it's just a bag of hit points" complaint that's so common about 5e, the Ogre. In D&D, the Ogre is just a bunch of hit points with a club attack and a javelin attack, but in Tales of the Valiant, ogres are resistant to being stunned, they're vulnerable to being knocked prone, which is of course the best way to defeat a giant. They also have a special attack called Bowling Sweep that lets them hit multiple opponents at a time, and they have a bonus action that lets them run into you and knock you over. All this adds up to an ogre that does some cool things in combat that you would expect an ogre to do, rather than just being a big old sack of hit points for your players to bash for a couple rounds, with nothing else interesting happening. At number 4, we have the Moon Knight. Well, not to be confused with the Marvel character of the same name, but the Moon Knight is a Fey Knight composed of pure moonlight, and they have some really cool abilities that fit the flavor really well and also make them very dangerous. They've got Moonlight Step, kind of a misty step that will teleport them around the battlefield so that they're hard to pin down. Their typical sword and board fighting style will knock you prone and wail on you with radiant damage, and their attacks force creatures that aren't in their natural form to revert back. So they're natural enemies of were creatures and druids and doppelgangers and pretty much anything else that doesn't like to be itself. At number 3, we have the Yellow Dragon. If you imagine your dragons as big, playful cats, then these are definitely for you. Much like lions, these are native to grasslands. They play with the food they're hunting, they're easily distracted, and yeah, they're basically just big cats with a breath weapon that does radiant damage. I mean, I think these sound like tons of fun, and in my games, they're going to have vulnerability to laser pointers or something like that. I just can't wait to find a good reason to run one of these. Then at number 2, we have the Salang. Now, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it's the Dark Satyr. You know, it's like the funny little guys with their goat legs and flutes. Well, these are the darker versions, still rocking the flutes, but they've got bug legs instead of goat legs and antenna instead of horns and some wicked music. Depending on which type of slang you encounter, their music can do all kinds of different things, from magically compelling you to dance, to putting you to sleep and forcing you to have nightmares, to stealing your breath and keeping you from casting spells with verbal components. They are pretty nasty, and I'm looking forward to running these guys as well. And then at the top of my list is the Mortivermis, which is an unreasonably difficult name for me to pronounce for some reason, and also one of the nastiest monsters I've ever seen. These things are basically made of mouths, but that's only part of what makes these things disgusting. They have the ability to incapacitate you with their gaze, wrap themselves around you, and start eating you. The text even talks about them liquefying flesh and then sucking you up like a straw. It is really gross. In any case, I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling somebody was like, hey, what if we took a carrion crawler and tuned it up to 11? And then they ended up with this monster. I am horrified by these things, and because I'm so horrified by them, I'm also eager to see how players will react to the disgustingness of these things. Definitely top tier monster material. And there we have it.